I don't want to set the world on fire.
Welcome again, everyone, to the new episode of the Foally of Man. I'm Chris. With me here today,
Robert.
And today we're going to be looking at chapters 22 and 23 of Fallout Equestria, a special double episode, if you will.
And it's a very special episode because us shitheads did not make an episode last week.
That's actually more my fault, but it is my fault, sorry.
No, it's no one's fault, except for the Kaisers, but it's no one's fault. For those of you listening at home, Chris gestured wildly at the sky there.
Old man yells at clouds.
Exactly. Good old Abraham Simpson.
Okay, so to start
we
off...
should probably preface a little bit because, we do have new people who tune in from time to time.
Do they?
Well, I would hope so.
Run
Who was it
can.
that was commented being the lone user of Podbean?
Oh, goodness.
You know what I'm talking about in the comment section.
We'll have to look that up. Yeah, I don't remember.
There are downloads, but I think it's all spread out between like iTunes and Google Play, and even myself, I use Podcast Addict to download them. So
yeah, it just depends. I don't know.
So the crux of the show is the book Fallout Equestria, written by K-Cat, is a fan fiction that combines the Fallout universe with the My Little Pony universe. You are a Brony, and I am not. Thus, you force me to read the book
at gunpoint,
and then we review.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of the show.
In fact, if you don't see my hands, it's because I'm holding a knife to his ribs.
Well, it's ow, ooh, easy there, okay? Easy there. Get in a little stabby. So, again, special episode that we're covering episode 22 and 23. Where do we start?
Well, at the beginning of the chapter 22. The Earth Pony Way. I pray for the safety of all good ponies who come to Philadelphia, even slaves. But we can't expect the goddesses to do all the work.
No, not at all. So this is the chapter where we've left Spike. We're heading for
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, that's correct. I was trying to remember. There's a lot of content we need to cover in these.
Oh yeah, okay. So we're starting.
Apologizing ahead of time. We're probably going to be jumping around a little bit.
But we start out. We start out in the Sky Bandit, and and we're just going over the this area in between Manhattan and Philadelphia, and
it's just barren.
It's
barren, dusty, ugly, and Little Pip, and for that matter, Velvet Remedy finally find out what hellhounds are. Yes,
which is Deathclaws.
Right.
That's just the only way to describe it. Deathclaws.
And where is it? Is it Hidden Valley that
Splendid.
they live? Splendid Valley.
No, it isn't Splendid Valley. They land in. They talk about it.
Right. Well, but they were talking about where the hellhounds came from originally.
Yes, they were denizens of the Splendid Valley.
And it's because of the magical gems that they had there that belonged to the people of Equestria.
Yeah.
The kingdom of Equestria.
Yeah.
And so they essentially...
Eminent domain, kids. Look it up.
They forced them out. And what were they called? Diamond Dogs?
Oh, no. They relocated them.
Right, but they were called...
Diamond Dog Reservations.
Right, but they were Diamond Dogs.
Yeah.
So they're Native Americans is the allegory.
Yes.
And it was one of the first locations of the... I think it was the second location of the Balefire bomb.
Location of the second, yes.
Yeah. So essentially, the Diamond Dogs, who, again, don't mean anything to me, apparently is a reference to Rarity defeating Diamond Dogs
was an
or
episode
something.
from the show.
I assumed so. If I was lost, I'm just going to assume it's the show.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they leave. They're forced out of their homes, and then after they've mined all of the magical gems, they go back. Some go back.
Yeah, and they try to sneak their way back in because it was their home. I mean, it was where they lived. It kind of... Understand it.
Well, and it was supposedly after all the mining, just like already kind of a caustic, not a great place to be to go back to, and then was made
because
worse.
They used it for storage for
right.
Whatever they were storing, which meant old research equipment,
and of course
chemicals.
Steel Hooves and Calamity disparage vault dwellers because they don't know what hellhounds are.
Yeah.
We also learned that hellhounds are not only strong enough and have sharp enough claws to claw through Steel Ranger armor. I wanted to say Brother Hoof of Steel again, but through Steel Ranger armor, but they can also claw through the magical shields of alicorns.
Yeah.
Which is some pretty dope shit.
He said, I saw that, and I left.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, these are things that even Steel Hooves has no interest in. I keep saying Steel Hooves, though, or should I say apple snacks.
He knows. Cut the feed.
I know, right? Like, I don't know what to refer to him
Truman
as.
knows.
We learn a lot about Steel Hooves, which is good because I feel like in one of our previous episodes, the question to me was, who do you want to know more about? My response was Steel Hooves. So this is great that we're getting a little bit more of the backstory.
Yeah.
We'll get into the next chapter after a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we go into a derelict building. Of course, Calamity's been nonstop flying, and even as strong as he is, dragging that trailer is
yeah, he's
problematic.
pretty winded. So they have to land. They land on the roof of a power plant.
Correct.
But the interesting thing is they kind of go into the infrastructure of Equestria pre-war and how they were using coal, which was a supply good.
They were completely dependent on coal as a resource, which only existed in zebra lands. And of course, they need more of it, and the zebras need it themselves. So when it becomes scarce, so it follows the oil storyline from Fallout.
Yeah. Necessity of resources, just going into that. And while they're there, they're just sneaking around inside.
All the while in this chapter, we're getting radio broadcasts of Red Eyes.
Red Eyes, yeah.
Who sounds like President, what's his name from Fallout 3?
John Henry Eden.
John Henry Eden, that's right. Which is so funny, too, because that's the game where, you have the Garden of Eden creation kit.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he obviously... so in the audio version, he has a very similar voice to Eden.
Yeah, that was Crazed Ramblings' inflection.
Right, and he's an Earth pony, as far as we understand, and we also find out that he has removed his cutie mark.
Yeah.
Because in his words, I should never allow,
something else
an arbitrate to dictate what I would be allowed to do.
It's not what you can do, it's what prevents
weird.
you from doing.
He's a fascist, but he's all about a worker's paradise, too.
Yeah, he's a Marxist communist.
Yeah, I mean, it's just communist dictatorship, I guess, would be the way to describe it, with slavery. And less benefits.
Yeah.
And even little Pip, she seems drawn, not that she believes, or supports him, but she can understand the charismatic draw of this. It's the propaganda. You hear it constantly. It was Goebbels who said, tell a lie loud enough and long enough, people will believe it to be the truth. And that's exactly
true.
Well, that's
haven't you heard it on the radio?
Oh,
the
boy.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. If it's being broadcast, it must be true there.
They wouldn't lie to us.
No, of course not. But anyway, so we're on the top of the power plant, and then getting into the power plant, there appear to be some signs of hellhounds in the plant itself.
A lot of ponies that used to be ponies and are now goo, for lack of a better word, kind of fleshy.
But
leftovers.
Recently gooey. The other thing we find out is that hellhounds have... It's weird. So alicorns are super mutants, but super mutants can use weapons. Alicorns, or rather, the hellhounds have adapted weapons to be usable by them, which Deathclaws never did.
No.
However,
so
obviously, not everything has to line up perfectly. But
however, in Fallout 2, Deathclaws did talk.
Really?
Yep. You go back to Vault 13, which is the home of the home vault of the Vault Dweller in the first Fallout, and it's taken over by talking Deathclaws, which was actually
sentient Deathclaws.
I will be honest, when I actually played through that, I had the correct reaction.
Yeah.
Which is honestly one of sheer terror for like half a second, and then it spoke, and I was like, What?
Yeah.
What?
So anyway, so they can use magical weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And they find a hellhound in there that is basically causing a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, injured one, a leg is shot.
Well, and Velvet Remedy says to Little Pip, I have a plan. And Little Pip's like, You have a plan?
Shotgun
really?
Surgeon?
Please, yes, exactly. Please, I'm shocked. Let me tell. But she won't tell Little Pip what the plan is. Well, the plan is she hits the hellhound with a magical spell.
Yeah, an anesthetic spell.
Which has the side effect of completely numbing,
Yeah, paralyzing.
paralyzing the
effectively.
target. Which, of course, Little Pip is like, well, 1, that's brilliant. 2, terrifying.
And 3, did you kill it? Why would I kill it?
Why would I kill my patient?
Why would I kill my patient?
Yeah.
It's what now?
Yeah, exactly.
I love how it's actually written as a single compound word in the book. I'm sorry, it's a what now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what?
So hellhounds are terrifying, and there's something to be feared, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely a shocker there. But they managed to get it working. I will say, I'd never played Fallout 1 to the point where you ever got any kind of vehicle, if you did. But in Fallout 2, there's a vehicle called the Bandit Highwayman.
Mm-hmm. Which you see referenced in New Vegas.
You see reference in New Vegas, but it's actually where the Sky Bandit comes from. And it also ran off of E-cell and any kind of electronic batteries that you had.
Right.
And so if you actually were a master of physical guns, you had left over all of these tons of energy cells that you just dumped into the Highway Bandit men, and you just straight on where you
It is
want.
something that's been interesting since Bethesda took over, is kind of the abandonment of vehicles as a means of locomotion.
I want to feel that was primarily due to the engine.
You think so?
Their engine, it just doesn't deal well,
Well,
with that kind of
I was going to
stuff. say,
look at how horses work in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
And everyone's like, when can we have flying dragons?
About that. You can use a dragon to transport you places, but it's not the same.
No.
So, we also find out that Pyrelight is completely capable of dragging the Sky Bandit.
Or trying.
Well, trying to, but so Calamity's like, shoot, I'm going to be replaced there too. Little Pip and Calamity have a little bit of a moment. He feels as though he's lost his worth to the group.
Yeah, because he hasn't been part of.
He hasn't been
that's
part of
going
the
on.
adventures. He kind of feels like he's being punished a little bit just because of his calamitous nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
And Little Pip is like, Calamity, you are my closest friend.
Mhm.
And I trust you more than anyone else.
Technically the oldest friend in the group.
Absolutely.
Velvet Remedy was there first, but first off, she didn't really become a friend until Pip finally accepted her for who she was.
I was going to say, she didn't really... I mean, she and Little Pip didn't hang out. If anything, we find out in these chapters that Velvet Remedy had a very negative opinion of Little Pip
Oh, yeah.
when she left.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she goes so far as to make fun of Little Pip for being like a snoop.
Yeah.
When all of them... Oh, what was the activity that they were all engaging in? All the while, Little Pip was in... Oh, instead of doing activities, Little Pip was learning how to break into people's personal information.
Yeah, so she's the redheaded stepchild of the stable.
Yeah. Well, and classically, the popular picking on the unpopular.
Mm-hmm. She's part of a different clique. Of course, there's no such thing as a clique in the Wasteland. Sorry,
Well,
popularity here doesn't mean
and
shit.
Velvet Remedy's value is different.
Oh yeah, she's the healer, which is also the person who stands back, and we'll only call you if we need you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, but
you're not the center
also
of
not
attention.
just as a healer, but let's think about her personality type. She's a performer and an entertainer. Pardon me. Which has some value in the Wasteland, but it also makes you're very hard to defend.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to be the center of attention in any kind of group because you aren't the one who's actually pulling their weight. You
Well,
are
it's like
the side effect.
so in the Wasteland, because of Homage or DJ Pony broadcasting your music, people may know your music, but unless you sing for them, they're not going to know who you are.
No, that's the
no
shame of radio.
There's no video broadcasts. There's no advertisements on billboards anymore.
Thank God, there's no video broadcast. Could you imagine Red
By
Eyes
the way,
things? If you were...
Philadelphia has got to be terrifying.
Yeah,
I mean, it's full of industry. It's full of fire. It's essentially it's Equestria's version of the pit.
yeah, that's the inspiration.
But even more terrifying is there's Pinkie Pie hot air balloons hanging over the town, and not giant Pinkie Pie heads.
Manic smiles staring at you all the time, almost mockingly.
It's just terrifying. It's
Yeah.
horrifying.
Yeah, it's something else.
With fire and it's essentially hell on earth. I think they even use the term that they're going into hell.
Yeah.
And Velvet Remedy, being the narcissist that she is, she's always like, "Oh, Little Pip, you take me to the nicest of places." In fact, she says it twice. It's like a recurring joke. She's just like, I'd buy that for $1, but that's the thing. that she just says, like it's a sitcom, almost like she's about to ham to the camera.
You
Little
know, and
Pip,
we're going
you
to follow
take me
up
to
with
the nicest of places.
This episode of Foally Equestria was filmed before a live studio audience.
Oh, of ponies.
Yeah, of ponies.
What would clapping? You can't. I already know you. It wouldn't be clopping.
Clop. I'd probably be clopping.
Stomping.
Yeah, true.
Stomping. I remember. I remember. Clopping is a
They
taboo
did.
topic.
You're right.
Apparently,
They
though,
do, you're right.
clopping is not a taboo topic in this book at all.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next chapter.
God damn, Chris. God damn it! Damn it! I thought I'd gotten away. It's like every time you think that a fanfic isn't going to be mildly pornographic, Draco Malfoy's ramming Harry up the ass. All right.
But enough about. Oh God, what was it? My
Why?
goddess.
Please tell me.
My
Why
mortal.
is it that Harry Potter and Doctor Who fan fictions have all of the weirdest sex, and it'll be so normal? You'll be so normal, and then bam,
Only you can answer that.
bumping
one.
uglies.
I haven't read any of those, so.
Just the My Little Pony fanfic with.
Yeah, I can explain that one a bit better. I can't explain those.
Yeah. And to K-Cat, I'm not picking on you. Stories have sex for sure. That it totally belongs.
Life has sex.
It's just you're strolling along normal street, and then wham.
Anyway.
Yeah,
so,
we'll get into that later. Sorry.
Speaking of, I think that was most of the last chapter. We just kind of did an exposition on Deathclaws and the Splendid Valley.
But anyways, Calamity and Little Pip are closer. Little Pip has some moments with Steel Hooves, but a lot more on Steel Hooves in chapter 23.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish I could say there was more to chapter 22. I just brushed up on it earlier today. I just can't.
That's all right. I'm sure we'll be told what we left.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Anyway,
We've been so bad.
Chapter 23, Patterns of Behavior.
Show me 23.
Well, my child, it's quite dangerous to explore places where you do not belong. Where were you headed that you ended up in my private chambers? I want to say that's the antagonist from Fallout 3. I want to say, because that seems like something that I feel like she said. I can't
Interesting.
remember.
Also, I do want to take a moment, and I'm not going to make any money off of this, but I have to point out. So there's these things called geeky tikis, and I didn't think I'd love them as much as I do. But like for it's super affordable, and it's great. Like it's not cheap.
For those at home who have no idea what's going
Yeah,
on,
there we go.
he's holding up a Boba Fett styled tiki that he's drinking.
Yeah,
out of.
tiki glass. We need to bring back tiki glasses. I mean,
We're
we're
already
both.
trying to bring back the bomber suit.
I am the boiler suit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I call them, bomber suits.
yeah. I have to a fly jacket or
Yeah.
no fly suit. What do you call it?
Sure.
I was gonna say there's
Bomber jackets.
coveralls.
Yeah,
Coveralls.
bomber jacket's different, but
Not a bomber jacket. I'll tell you what. If we can be sidetracked for a moment, I bought this to make the Vault Dweller suit.
Mhm.
It is one of the most comfortable things that I own. He will tell you, I wear this thing all the time.
he's naked right now underneath that.
Well, not completely. I mean, there's a sock apparatus. I mean, I don't want my dick touching the inside of this thing. That's just crass. Come on.
And we're done. Okay, chapter 23. This one, you're gonna let me have you start this one out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, a lot of stuff happens in this chapter. We are finally in Philadelphia.
Not the central portion of the city that's walled off, but the city limits as they were.
And we learn a whole lot about Steel Hooves. That's really kind of what I want to talk about.
Oh yeah, I mean just from the get go, they see a bank. Is it? And it's filled with raiders, and they go raid the raiders.
Yeah, well, and you find out that the there's a vault in there that Little Pip is trying to access, and that's kind of when they're picking on Little Pip, or rather Velvet Remedy's picking on Little Pip, talking about her virtue being more of a vice. You know, the spying on people.
Oh God.
But anyways, the vault itself they used one of those giant cannons essentially to just blow off the back end of it. Mm-hmm. But it seems as though that they weren't really interested in the vault. There was something else that they were after.
Yeah.
So.
But she actually does crack into the vault by hacking into the computer and read aligning the spell matrix with the dilithium crystals from the Starship Enterprise, and the whole thing works. And so they go in, and there's a few safes inside, and of course, inside the big safe is a whole bunch of little safes, because of course there are.
It's a safe space.
Filled with sub-safe spaces. And sub-safe spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that gets really confusing really quick. It's nested. It's like a Matryoshka doll of safe spaces.
Russian nesting doll.
But anyway, so they break into it, and she finds a rather elegant, beautifully put together anti-machine rifle, which is equatable to the antimatter rifle.
Yeah.
In both form and function. Being that the real-world antimatter rifle is not a sniper rifle, but a vehicle disabling gun. It's really just meant to stop vehicles. That's really what it's designed to do. Not for long-range combat. You wouldn't use one realistically for long range. The round apparently isn't designed for it. It's not, the flight pattern's not correct for it, but it's great for
punching through.
Yeah, mid to long engagement range, just stopping whatever the hell's going on. Yeah. And so this is very similar in that regard. I actually think it's interesting that KCAT knew that antimatter rifles, like the 50 cal Barrett sniper rifle, is not a sniper rifle. Just thought that was interesting.
What do you mean? The Barrett is a sniper rifle. It has confirmed kill at 2.25
It's confirmed,
miles.
but in none of the documentation is it actually referred to as a sniper rifle. It's not called that, and it's not referred to that in any of the official documentation.
Interesting.
Yep, it is actually, the antimatter rifle is apparently not to be confused with a sniper rifle.
But all right,
because of its functionality.
We're getting in the reeds.
I'm
gonna politely disagree, because it's used exclusively by snipers to snipe individuals, not vehicles.
It's not considered a sniper rifle by Barrett.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, going back, finds that, hands that to, gives it to a rather, to a drooling Calamity, who's
Correct.
It's even got inertial dampeners for flight use.
Oh, yeah.
And she gives it to him, and he just squeezes on the spot and goes, yeah. Anyway, it's rather cute. I'm sure.
And then, of
adorable.
course, we can
box.
skip forward, but we don't. I know. So we come across some memories.
Yes, a box of 4 memory orbs. And without missing a beat, little Pip goes, "Hey, look!"
Yeah.
Just goes straight into it. And
we find out that this is a memory from the perspective of
Apple Snack. Steel Hooves.
Correct.
In which she describes
the Steel Ranger, formerly known as Apple Snacks.
Yes, in which she describes his erection.
Wow, you just jumped right into it.
Well, I mean,
didn't talk about Applejack or any of that, but yeah, he and Applejack
started out with them hitting on each other in a rather obvious manner. So I don't feel like I'm going out of chronological order here.
She's picking on him for the way that he looks.
Yeah, we're goofy with the Recollector on.
Yeah,
because he's an Earth Pony and he's using the Recollector.
Correct, because the Recollector is the only way for them to make memory orbs if you're an Earth Pony.
But it's. This is the part we're going to kind of talk about, and I feel like
little Pip basically describes in great detail about the hot pressure she is feeling.
And how she's trying to escape it, and it's just this constant going back and forth to "please don't make me do this, please don't make me do this," which I agree. In the situation of reading it, you also don't want it to happen.
The only thing is, anyone who's actually worked with horses, and obviously male horses don't really wear pants in the My Little Pony universe. There's not really hiding an erection. Are you familiar with horse penises?
Well enough.
They kind of hang down quite a bit.
I feel like
there would really be.
I feel like there's an allegorical relationship in our culture and society with horse penis being gigantic.
I'm just saying you would recognize that blueberry saber pretty quick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we dropped that bombshell. No, but it was interesting, and I really don't want to call out anyone here, but I'm going to. So, in the later chapters of Project Horizons, Somber goes into various sexual details quite often. Is criticized for it as well, because it just seems to be like a recurring thing every chapter, and people who are reading are like, "What the hell's going on?" And he kind of admitted it was his own repressed sexuality kind of finding a way
No!
out through his writing. And so I look at all the things in the story, and I wonder how much of this is K-Cat's writing and how much of this is actually K-Cat on paper. Think about I hate doing this. Think about the drug addiction, the realization of how drug addiction works from the perspective of an addict. And I wonder, I'm like, okay, this is all really awesome, but I'm wondering how much of this are we getting?
Well, it's natural. Anytime that you read fiction, there's always some truth in fiction.
Yeah.
You think about let's talk about Stephen King a little bit. Stephen King writes for troubled, highly intelligent individuals who struggle with normal people.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what he is.
Yeah. And so you're kind of projecting that, and so I wonder whether
I think every author does it.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things, and I really hate calling it out because I feel like it's an embarrassing thing to call out, and I don't want K-Cat to feel embarrassed by it, but I feel like.
I mean, if it's the case, it's not a matter of embarrassing. It's all poured out on the pages, anyways.
Yeah.
But I will say, I haven't read Project Horizons. I don't know. I don't know if I can do Project Horizons.
If we do it, like I said, we're going to read to a specific chapter, stop, and we're going to see what it is like. And
Okay.
I'm probably not going to make you continue because I want to have one person read to Chapter Black and stop and actually see what it's like if that's the end of the story.
Interesting.
And see their expectations and how everything works.
But I will say, and we've said before, we joke about, oh, this is gross, oh, this is whatever. Sex happens. Sex is in stories. Contextually, for me, because it's My Little Pony and Fallout, both of which generally are sexless.
I mean, yeah, they do refer to a lot of prostitution in Fallout because
Right,
it's going to happen in that kind
don't
of setting.
Really, I mean, you can buy it, but you don't participate. You know what I mean?
And moreover, it's not a world in which you feel as though
and
it kind of
speaks to Western values in general that it makes us naturally uncomfortable. But I will say it has been few enough and far enough in between. This is not a romance novel by any stretch of the imagination. So I would say that it has been very tastefully done.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, him needing to relieve himself in the bathroom of said spunkage, you don't want blueberry saber balls. You know what I'm saying?
Blueberries.
You don't want blueberries. Oh, those are some small berries if they're blueberries.
Blue plums.
But anyway, so what we find out. Let's get back onto the memory. What we find out though is that this is the encounter where the assassination attempt occurs.
She finds out about the anti-machine rifles,
right? Which pisses her off because the anti-machine rifles were developed basically to penetrate the armor of the Steel Rangers, which is the only reason Applejack sold her farm and threw all of her energy into this because she lost her brother.
Yeah, and this was her one. Really, I mean, aside from the fact that she had kind of directed the ministry to help industry and to help forward progress for the nation, this was her personal contribution based on the loss of her brother.
There's also
when they cut through that armor, they're kind of cutting through. They're kind of recreating in her mind the death of her brother.
There's also a very anti-corporate tone to this, which some people will misinterpret as anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
But we could get into theory. True capitalism is not corporations. Corporations are like anti-capitalist.
Yeah. Again, we can get into.
I know
that
we can get lost in the reeds there, but I do think it's important with Red Eyes being this Marxist dictator. And you have corporations represented essentially as the capitalistic end, and really everyone should be happier in the middle. It's not true. I mean, like, true capitalism is almost anarchy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because it's almost a bartering society.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't have to get lost in the reeds there.
No, but they do, and this is something that we talked about.
Yeah.
I feel like it's appropriate for the story because ponies perfectly in this story represent the extremes of human characteristics.
Correct. Yep.
And so, of course, rather than GM and Monsanto and Comcast and all of this, companies you would go to and you'd be like, you're actually a bad company. Of course, the ponies would be the most extreme iterations of them, the ones that would actually be murdering people and doing terrifying things. and it would just be kind of the expected thing because they are the extreme. They are the end result, the absolute epitome of that characteristic.
So, anyways, Applejack, upon finding out about this, here's her she's like, well, we have to stop this. We have to stop these guns being made. And Apple Snacks is like, well, they're made. You can't take
Once the knowledge is out there, you can't stop it. If
You
they
can't
had stopped
stop it.
If they had shut down the Manhattan Project, the nuclear bomb would have still gotten out.
Correct.
Because not only, think about it this way, not only for both the situation, the Manhattan Project and the anti-machine rifle, not only are they just inventing something that you could just hide and maybe found later, you're proving the fact that it is possible. If it is possible, it can be possible again.
It can be replicated.
It could just be found a second time. There's nothing stopping it from just happening a second time, happening a third time.
Talking about World War II, I think that's something that most people don't understand, is that there was a race on all sides to harness that power.
Everybody wanted to find something out because we had only found the atom, 60 years before that? We had only theorized about molecules sometime in the 1800s.
Yeah.
It was originally the particles in a yogurt soup was the original belief pattern, and they kind of evolved upon that. So it was an inevitability of technology. Somebody would have found it.
Right.
It was just going to happen. Just taking in half-life's radiation and trying to figure out how that is interconnected. Yeah.
Applejack gets on the elevator from her penthouse that she shares with Apple Snacks, and heading up, to which we then find out, it immediately plummets.
Yeah, you just hear this. According to the memory, you just hear a snap, and then the sound of the elevator swooshing downwards, and then a bang. And she comes out of it remembering Apple Snacks' screams of terror.
Yeah.
And she awakens to Steelhose, Apple Snacks,
Looking at
staring
her.
her down like nothing else.
Yeah. And says, really is more of a vice. In reference to her snooping.
Yeah. And just asking her, what did you see? What did you see?
What did you see? Well, and little Pip, feeling shitty, tries to kind of explain the
in the nicest way what she saw.
The rifles.
Yeah, and she was like, the anti-machine rifles. That's what I saw. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Nothing about your raging boner.
Nothing about your raging
Definitely
boner.
not about your raging hard penis. Not anything about that at all.
I'm not thinking about it now. Still not thinking about it.
Yep. But if only Homage had his...
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
So, good night, everybody. But moving on, there were 3 other memory orbs, which Steelhooves had securely locked away, since they belonged to him.
They were his memories.
They were his memories.
And
which
she wondered whether or not he knew what this place was.
I want to bring something up. This whole experience for little Pip, she has been diving into 200-year-old memories, willy-nilly, very callously, because it didn't matter. These ponies are dead. And coming across the memories of a pony that's still alive is just like spying in somebody's journal.
Yeah, it's
looking into their diary.
It's
You are
worse than that, but
experiencing what they experienced.
This is a problem we were talking about with Equestria as a whole during the war. Is the vault of memory orbs from Shattered Hoof? They were not only looking into people's minds to figure out whether or not they were committing thought crimes against the state, which is terrifying.
Yep.
All for the greater good. As the story says,
it's Orwellian.
The portal to hell is opened with the incantations of good intentions.
Right. It is, but it's Orwellian.
Yeah.
That is
many peace, many truth, many image, many awesome.
But for little Pip and for us, we don't think about it being intrusive. The people are dead and long gone, but it gives little Pip a healthier perspective, I think, of what it means to truly step in.
What you're actually witnessing. It's not a story. It's not a directed.
It's not being told. It's not manipulated. It's one for one.
And it is not meant to be under the guise of something. It's not meant to be portrayed in a specific light. You're seeing someone's own experience.
Well, it's like, you think about history. There's primary, secondary, and tertiary. You have the story. You have the story told by someone else, and then you have the critique of the story that's told. Primary sources, secondary and tertiary sources. This is literally a primary source.
Yeah,
and it's not even written by the person. It is their absolute first hoof experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I used your fucking words. I learned your language.
But the important thing as well about Shattered Hoof is that they were ripping the thoughts and memories. They were not copying, because a lot of this is copying. That's what some of it does. You can either copy or you can remove. They were removing parts of ponies' minds.
Yep.
And so what you have left over can never be whole. What you can have left over is wrong. Imagine waking up one day and you're in prison.
Yep.
And you're like, what happened? And they're like, well, you tried to kill such and such. And they're like, how did I try to do it? We removed all the thoughts of it. Why would you remove the thoughts of it? So you don't do it, try it again. But I don't even know who I am anymore. And they're like, yeah, you don't. Any amount of instigation that would cause the attack to happen again has been removed. Which means that if your upbringing, somebody said they didn't like a specific person, they would remove all instances of that specific type of person ever existing.
Yep.
And any references to that. And that's wrong.
Are you...
Very wrong.
When you remove what it means to be a pony, are you even a pony in the end?
I have no idea. That's a question for Better Mayor.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what happens is we are met upon by another pack of the Steel Rangers.
Well, after Calamity fires around through one of their legs.
And Steelhooves has a little chat with Little Pip in the side. He's like, hey, Little Pip, go in there.
Yeah,
without saying as much. He just kind of puts his hoof on her shoulder, shoves her into a closet, walks in afterwards, and closes the door.
My shoulder.
Nice little talk. But yeah, no, they find some Steel Rangers. Calamity's not happy, shoots one of them, and Velvet Remedy's like, what did you do? And starts trying to heal it immediately. I imagine their relationship is going to be rather hilarious in life.
Well, I love the line about how and Calamity was as dirty as she expected him to be when he pulled himself out from underneath the Sky Bandit. Because she's very fastidious.
Yep.
Like she in this environment, she'd take a bath 3 times a day every day if she could.
And she wouldn't go outside.
Yeah. It's filthy. Well, she also grew up in a vault, and vaults are pretty clean. Obviously, there are some that aren't.
Yeah.
But the good ones were pretty. What's the
sanitary,
term?
Sterile.
Yeah, I was gonna say but the H word. Like hermetically sealed. But anyways,
yeah. But yeah, no, they talk to them and they recognize Steel Hooves. Not immediately. They actually think that he's
right.
A knight.
Well, and he's wearing armor that does not match his ranking.
Because he's wearing the original armor.
Correct.
When he was a knight.
A Steel Ranger, yeah.
Yeah, and he is since elevated, and he cannot take the armor off.
Well, and we were listening to the story before the episode today, and I mentioned to you when they said there was a paladin that identified themselves and said to him, of course,
how dare you speak to someone?
How dare you speak to someone like that before they realize who he is? And to which he responds, you should never speak to someone who ranks higher than you.
Yeah.
Like that. And of course, so here they're this haughty paladin, and they realize that he's higher rank. And I look at you and I said, oh, he must be a sentinel.
Yeah.
But it turns out that their rankings, it's like this weird homogenized combination of
the East and West Coast.
Coast.
He's not a sentinel. He's a Star Paladin who is going to be an elder, but turned down.
I was going to say they refer to him as Elder Steelhooves, which he does not like at all.
No, he actually despises the term.
He turned it down. It was a rank that he turned down. So we find out even more. We also find out later in the chapter that he mentions his prime directive, his mission. And his mission that he was assigned from his elder was to essentially investigate this group.
The stable itself.
And prove that they are not a threat.
Yep.
Because the idea that Little Pip comes out and is able to accomplish all of these things...
It's not good. It's not a good sign.
Right. It looks like a sleeper cell. Somebody that they're training assassins in.
And you have something about it this way, and this is something that hilariously I'm going to go back to Project Horizons that they actually do mention in this at a very small point somewhere in the story. You have an entire wasteland of ponies versus a stable, and you'd think, oh, of course the wasteland's going to win. But here's a stable filled with healthy, full-grown, well-energized, well-exercised, well-developed ponies versus a wasteland
Well-nourished,
filled with feeble, broken down, just
diseased.
Not healthy at all, and not exercise, not good. The stable would win in an instant.
Who makes the shoes in the wasteland?
That's a good question. That's a question for you guys. Who makes the shoes in the wasteland?
I mean, seriously, horses need shoes. Especially if you're running on city streets and crap. I mean, that'll break up your hooves.
Yeah.
It's like dragging your nails across.
Did the show ever figure that out? I don't remember anyone ever address. Like, they talk about horseshoes obviously a lot, but they don't ever address like the necessity of them, or even them really being in use a lot. It's weird. So I don't know.
Interesting. Food for thought.
Yeah.
So where did we last leave off? There's so much to cover in this last little bit.
And they fight against the slavers.
Well, let's also not forget. Steel Hooves goes after, we find in the other memory orbs that Steel Hooves gifts to little Pip as a sign of good faith.
Yeah, because he's like, look, I want you to trust me.
He says, I follow you. I follow you because you remind me so much of Applejack.
I'm not going to quote Jack Nicholson this time, but I have before, and I still stick with that reference. But no, he follows her for a multitude of reasons. Because
but he says Applejack would approve of you. She would think very highly of you.
Yeah, because she.
And here, little Pip, just like Velvet Remedy had gotten with Fluttershy, little Pip is really starting to identify with Applejack.
Yeah,
really starting to feel her emotions, her motivations,
her drive.
And so to hear that, you can almost feel little Pip. It's like.
Oh
yeah! This is what I want. This is who I want to be like. This is somebody.
Yeah, it's your.
Thus far, we really haven't seen a downside to Applejack, other than she doesn't know how to run anything.
Yeah, she's very. She doesn't. She's to explain why she's bad at it, rather than how she's bad at it, because she micromanages everything and refuses to accept help with advisors. See, I was
going to say, but she was accused of bringing in all this business.
She was initially, but remember, she wasn't running things.
Right.
She just let it happen how it was supposed to happen. She didn't take control.
And then her brother dies.
When her brother died, she took control and started trying to micromanage everything rather than going with advisors.
Yeah.
So when she wasn't in control of the ministry, all was fine, and clearly not fine, but everything was running as they wanted it to. But when she started coming in and micromanaging, it taxed her.
Yeah.
It caused her a lot of grief, and it caused them a lot of grief because they had a specific way of things getting done, and she was just stepping all over it.
Yeah.
The early retirement.
So I just want to make sure we don't leave anything out because the episode's getting long.
Yeah.
So is there anything else in Chapter 23?
Slaves,
yep.
They execute the slavers and then the slaves. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? These are slaves. And they're like, they are Red Eye's production line, and they will be removed as his production line.
They are a resource.
And they are to be removed.
And then we hear the thing that said to little Pip that they would be more interested in saving your Pip-Buck than you. They are cult worshippers of technology.
Yep.
Well, and they represent the Ministry of Wartime Technology. I mean, they still identify as being a part of the Ministry of Wartime Technology. That's how they said that item there, that gun, belongs to the Ministry of Wartime Technology.
Also, the memory orb where Steel Hooves just completely and totally kills the guy.
Well, good. I'm glad you said that. That was the last thing I wanted to touch on. He tracks down who would have had motivations.
And who had the money.
Who was given the money.
Who hid his bank account behind a password that was his daughter's name.
Yeah, exactly.
Good job.
Well, and remember, Steel Hooves always said that, you're a much better pony than I am.
And you're about to find out how bad I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no mercy. No fucking mercy.
Oh, by the way, there was an accident. He died.
Bummer. Like Rick from Rick and Morty. I don't know. Maybe you should ask the smartest guys in the universe. Oh, wait, you can't. They blew up.
What up? Ba-da-da.
All right, so that was chapters 22 and 23. That only took a nice, tidy 40 minutes or so for us to go over.
Yeah, about that.
So, Chris, are you ready? 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 Huh?
Yes.
You ready? Pony pun of the week! Woohoo! All right. The pony pun of the week, Christopher, is hoof note.
Hoof note, as in hoof note, level up, also known as the thing that was not used in this book.
That was used in chapter 22. It's literally used in chapter 22.
You are actually the one who noticed this, is that the fact that Little Pip says hoof note and it does not say hoof note in the story.
K-Cat, I love you, and and you've got a great book here, but god damn it, if I'm going to have to use these pony pun terms, there needs to be some fucking consistency. All right, so you use the term hoof note in the chapter to refer to a footnote, and yet in every chapter of the book, it says footnote at the end of the chapter.
In the defense, I'm going to say that the hoof note was clearly come up with much later into the story, and you wanted to go with consistency.
But for the go back.
That is something which I actually am in favor of. That K-Cat says she will never do is she will not have the story re-edited in any way. And the book itself, the written book, is filled with a myriad of misspellings, grammar problems, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But for instance, I think we talked about this last time on the bridge. She says the character Little Pip says milieu instead of Malay.
Yeah,
and it's like they got into, and if you want it translated from French, it's and they got into a combat of social upbringings. What?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there's a few parts where it doesn't really work out, but she said she doesn't want any translations, official translations, done because it'd make everything more complicated. So, yeah, that's just that. I disagree, honestly. I wish there were a professionally, not a professionally edited one, but just kind of like a final edit that actually wraps all that up for printings and stuff. I feel like that's better, especially since there have been leaked through printings. The Russians have like 2 different printings now. I definitely want one of them really badly, even though it's like completely in Cyrillic. I'm like, I'll learn Russian. I just want another copy of the
All right.
book.
Well, what's another one of your favorite video game series?
Stalker.
No.
Metro.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's very similar.
yeah.
By the same company, actually. Not the same company, the same developers.
Just the one you always mention to me is Metro.
Yeah, it's Metro/Stalker. But Metro I do love. I could play Metro. I hate the story in it. K-Cat's right. The story is forgettable, and the karma system is about as awful and dreadful as you can imagine. It's really just kind of a mini-game mechanic than it is an actual karma system.
Right.
But damn if I didn't enjoy every single second of fighting through it.
You like how dark, barren, and bleak it is.
It's beautiful. I mean, it just is. Okay, so you want to go into listener questions.
I just hoof note. Okay, moving on. And starting with listener questions from K-Cat herself.
Did you catch Little Pip's epiphany regarding homage that was said just before they left Spike? I asked because it was significant, but something you didn't mention, and that was her being the element of honesty, truth in the wasteland, no matter how bad it hurts. Yeah, that was it.
I guess I don't know.
Unless there was an, oh, by the way, homage is actually a dude. I didn't catch that, and I haven't yet, so I don't think that's the thing. So I do believe it's the.
You think Little Pip would be acutely aware of the sex of homage? I would think
by now. Okay.
You would hope so. I mean, magic's involved. Anything's possible.
Yeah, and everyone's stuff is on display 24/7.
Friendship is magic.
So
also, ladyboys.
Also ladyboys. The next is Almanac Pony, who says the elements of harmony are loyalty, honesty, laughter, generosity, kindness, and magic. You've recently learned that such things are needed for the gardens of Equestria to work. Out of the characters that you have already met, which ponies would you pick for these roles?
This message will self-destruct in 30 seconds. Of the characters that you've already met, which ponies would you pick for these roles? Well, we already have talked a little bit about laughter being...
Ditzy.
Yeah, Ditzy do. Sorry. I don't know. This is more for you. This is a much better question for you.
It's hard. It's hard for me because, I mean, not only looking forward in the story and knowing which things go on, but looking back and trying to understand how they fit with what the characters have seen so far and how they act so far. Generosity and kindness I would give to Velvet Remedy. I'm going to have to double up on this. Generosity and kindness would have to go to Velvet Remedy. Magic would have to go to Little Pip. Even though she only knows one spell, damn does she know that spell.
I was going to say, she's the best to have done it in the last 200 years.
Yeah, there's nobody else alive who can do that.
She's a one-trick pony.
It's a good trick. Good enough to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Loyalty and honesty. Honesty definitely belongs to Homage, and loyalty would have to be to Steelhooves.
Yeah.
He is the one who is loyal and has been loyal to his cause for 200
Well,
years.
and he even we've skipped over this. A lot happens in these 2 chapters, but he mentions about he does not follow his own oath to the Steel Rangers.
Yeah, there's another oath he follows.
Right, he has not followed theirs.
No, he follows his own oath.
Correct, his own code.
His own code, and it's a code that he has
In
followed.
D&D, he would be a broken oath paladin.
Yeah,
Literally a broken oath paladin.
literally, because he's a Star Paladin.
Yeah. So,
But not a Star Lance.
no, not a Lancer. He doesn't fly.
No.
That would be the Enclave.
Yeah.
I guess they'd be the Lancers.
Yeah.
They'd have to be. Even though they got
The Lancers.
All right, so those are the questions. So remember, for everyone at home, you can find us here on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CriscoBrandBiscuits. You can find us on Twitter at CriscoCast, which is where we announce when we're not going to have episodes on time. Which really we try, but I want y'all to already be prepared since we're recording today, Sunday the 27th. Next weekend is
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
So probably not anything. If we do, it's going to be a surprise, but it may not happen. I wouldn't bank on it.
We both have plans for the weekend.
Yeah.
I think I'll be back in town on Monday. I don't know what your plans are.
I'm off Monday, but again, we'll see.
I was going to say, you may even come down to join us, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But we'll give you updates. I hate to say it, the Twitter for now is the easiest way to just post things. You post in the subreddits.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Right, which is a pretty good way. Yeah, I know you don't want to blow up the page.
Yeah.
But those are good ways. And here's the deal, too. You're more than welcome to find us on Facebook and Twitter and follow us. We have, obviously people may judge us on the different YouTubers and people that we follow, but feel free to reach out to us there. I would say you and I are both pretty darn approachable.
Yeah,
we both have independent YouTube pages. My YouTube page has more music stuff on it. Your YouTube page has programming stuff going up on it.
Yeah,
which if you're interested in watching a game get made, you could see some of the stuff that Chris is. Well, it's early stages, but it's
like just proof of concept code.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting, especially what you're doing now is really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to actually upload it once I get the current iteration working.
But yeah, feel free.
All the problems with it.
Also, the follyofman.libsyn.com is where you can find the RSS page for our podcast. Of course, you can find us on iTunes and Google Play. Like I said, Twitter, Facebook, on the subreddit. That's a good place. I'm not on the subreddit, but I am on Reddit. But I'm not going to tell people my Reddit handle.
Don't.
That's
a good idea. Nobody's even going to know mine. Wait.
Too bad. Wait. Yeah, about that one. But, of course, we only do this show because of you, for the engagement, the questions. I always look forward to, that first 24 hours after we post an episode. There's an excitement watching, even if we only have 100 views, but watching it tick up and have questions and have upvotes.
Oh, yeah, people's responses. We love the feedback. Even if it's simple, good job. I appreciate that. I really do.
I think we kind of knew from the beginning that this was kind of an esoteric enough thing that we didn't expect there to be.
Niche.
Yeah, niche is a good way of looking at it. That I don't think we ever expected it to be, thousands and thousands of views. But the fact that we are able to engage and make something that you enjoy is very, very valuable. So, thank you.
Yep. And from Robert, I'm Chris, and you've been watching the Foally of Man. That's all I got.
That's it?
Why are you still here?
Go home.
It's over.
It's over. It's done. What are you doing? Get your popcorn, get your shit, and get out. We did the thing. Bye. Bye. Yeah. Good. Fucking done.
All over.
Bye, y'all.
But the cry